going to be talking about Starfield today because I feel like talking about Starfield and kind of some of my concerns about this game going forward. I know some people will think, oh, you're just overreacting to this, but let's be realistic. In retrospect, I did correctly predict that Cyberpunk 2077 was going to be a bit of a buggy mess on consoles when it released, and sure enough, it was. No, I'm not necessarily saying that Starfield is going to be like that because I honestly don't think it will be, but to say that I'm not concerned about this game, at least a little bit, I think is a bit disingenuous to you because I'm a fan of Bethesda games. That may come as a shock to you because I don't really talk a lot about Bethesda developed games, but I've been playing Bethesda games for quite a while now. So I kind of want to talk about my history with Bethesda and then bring back everything full circle as to why I'm a bit concerned about Starfield and its potential release date of coming out this year. But before we get into all of that, subscribe to the channel. I want to hit 500,000 subscribers this year. Just do this one thing for me. So there's a big trio of Xbox games that are scheduled to be coming out in the first portion of 2023. Of course, we have Redfall, which I don't know. It's hard for me to get excited for this game. I think it looks fine. And it's nice that it's going to be on Game Pass because I'll check it out since it's on Game Pass, but I don't find myself getting excited for this game. That's just me personally. Maybe it'll change my mind once it eventually comes out and I play the game. Then, of course, you have Forza Motorsports 8, a game that I am really excited for. I love racing games. I have an Xbox wheel that I can't wait to use with it. I'm really looking forward to Forza Motorsports 8 because Gran Turismo 7 on the PlayStation 5 definitely let me down a little bit. I've made several videos about it. Just a lot of things that made me unhappy in that game, and I feel like this is a chance for Forza to kind of potentially become, you know, the new standard when it comes to console racing games as far as something more on the simulation side of things. And then we have Starfield, the game that's kind of been a bit of an anomaly. Starfield was originally supposed to come out in 2022 on November 11th. Of course, that game ended up getting delayed, and a lot of people weren't very concerned with that delay, which I thought was kind of interesting because this was supposed to be the big game for Xbox in 2022. When you look at the 2022 lineup of games, there were smaller titles that came out, complimentary titles, I like to call them, games like Pentiment, games like Grounded fully releasing, which, I mean, that's cool. You know, it's nice to have those games, but I feel like you still have to have the heavy hitters to go alongside of that. And Starfield was supposed to be the heaviest of hitters for Xbox in 2022, but the game ended up getting delayed. It's supposed to be coming out in the first between now and June of 2023. And I'm a bit skeptical about that because when you look at a lot of things that Bethesda does with their games, there's some, you know, correlations that you can make as far as consistencies that should make you a little bit concerned about them. They're not called Bugthesda without reason because a lot of their games are a bit of a buggy mess, especially around the launch of a title. Now, looking at the games that Bethesda has published and of course developed, you know, throughout the years, I would say my love for Bethesda came along with the Elder Scrolls Oblivion on the Xbox 360 with stupid old Hieronymus Lex. I had never played a game quite like that before because I'm not a PC gamer. So this game to me was something absolutely fantastic. I thought it was so much fun. Yes, it was a bit buggy at times. I had Hieronymus Lex, actually his mission glitched on me, so I'll always remember that stupid bastard. But I did thoroughly enjoy my time with Oblivion, and I thought it was a very fun game, bugs and issues aside. But the game that I really fell in love with was Fallout 3. Fallout 3 is probably, like, if I had to make a top 20 list, I think Fallout 3 would be in that top 20 list. I absolutely adored this game on the Xbox 360. I know people prefer New Vegas over that, but I'm just talking about from the first time I played it, because Fallout 3 to me was unlike anything I had ever played before because I was a console gamer. And Fallout 3, just the whole, you know, crafting your own character inside the vault, and then you come out of the vault, and then it's just like, do whatever you want, go wherever you want, and have fun, and almost create your own sort of stories and situations and stuff like that. It was absolutely amazing to me. But over the years, I think Bethesda has lost their luster a little bit for a multitude of reasons. First off would have to be the fact that they're just very slow with getting new titles out. And I understand that because, you know, you're crafting all of these big worlds and stuff like that, but when the games actually do come out, they're usually riddled with bugs. And some people are able to look past that, some people aren't. But I think the biggest problem with a lot of Bethesda games is just simply competition. Because when Bethesda was doing stuff on the Xbox 360 with games like Oblivion and Fallout 3, there weren't any games that were really like that. These were essentially, you know, games that you would find on a PC that were being brought over to a home console. But when you look at how the video game landscape have shifted since those games have come out on the Xbox 360, there's a lot more competition now. You know, there's more companies and more studios doing games that definitely have vibes of Fallout, vibes of games like Oblivion. And when you go back to talking about Starfield, space, open world space games, I mean, you know, you got No Man's Sky kind of right there. And yes, that game didn't release in a great state either, but that was from a much smaller studio. And as time has gone on, they've crafted a game that they have wanted to create. And I can't help but feel that there's sort of those vibes with Starfield. But I don't think the whole fact that there is competition is the main concern when it comes to Starfield. I think there's just a lot of weight on this game, because there has been a long wait period from Bethesda developed games. There's a difference between published games and developed games. I'm talking about games that Bethesda themselves have developed, because really it's been some, you know, Fallout Shelter, Fallout 76, like how did those games turn out? There wasn't a great critical reception to those games. And I just feel like, you know, Bethesda is a company that needs some structure sometimes. And I feel like they put too much onus on themselves to create, you know, huge games and huge experiences. And then sometimes they fall a little bit short. And, you know, back in the 360 era, you could always blame things like technology and the hardware itself. But at some point in time, the company has to turn a corner. You know, I wish people were outspoken about Game Freak like they were Bethesda, because these seem to be two companies that kind of rest on their laurels. They kind of go on their back catalog and like, oh, look at the great things we've done in the past. It's like, well, that's cool, but what have you done for me lately? Now, realistically, we've only gotten one sort of deep dive into the look of Starfield itself. And when you look at it, it looks a lot like Fallout in outer space, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. But when you're watching that initial gameplay trailer that they showcased, the one where it was just like, all right, here's a bunch of gameplay, it definitely had some performance issues, which, you know, should be a little bit concerning considering that this game is being developed just for one console. They don't have to worry about a multi-platform release like you had to do back in the day. This is just being developed for the Xbox systems. So I was a bit concerned about some of the performance issues. There was obvious frame rate drops. There was obviously some problems a bit with the AI as well, as far as being able to recognize things around you. But I just felt like the game almost lacked a little bit of direction. And that could have just been the trailer that they shown and the gameplay they shown, because obviously we've only gotten a small snippet of that with that one presentation, and like this was all your gameplay blowout, and then just sit on it for a long time because you're not going to get any more information on this game. And that's another thing that is very concerning to me with this game is Xbox is doing a big presentation at the end of the month. January is when we're talking about this game. And on January 25th, Xbox is doing a developers direct where they're going to be showcasing some of the games coming out in the first half of 2023 for the system. Games like Redfall and Forza are confirmed to be there. But what's confirmed to not be there is Starfield. Now, they kind of played it off as saying, oh, Starfield is so big and it needs so much information that we've got to do our own presentation for that. And I guess at face value, you can take it at face value and be like, well, okay, you know, maybe that is the case. But I can't help but feel that that's not necessarily the case. I just can't give Xbox the benefit of the doubt quite yet because of the fact that they've been telling me that all these games are coming and they're coming soon and this is going to be the year that Xbox turns the corner, and it just feels like it's always that waiting game, that carrot dangling in front of you. You're waiting to eat that carrot, but you never get that carrot. I would say I'm concerned about this game though, just because of the fact that I don't feel like, you know, outside of Forza Horizon and maybe Halo Infinite to some degree, we haven't really gotten that huge, big, blockbuster, first-party Xbox game available on day one on Game Pass. You know, Forza is always going to be Forza. I think Forza is Forza Horizon 5, one of the best games on the Xbox, but if you don't like racing games, you're not going to like that game. Halo Infinite, it was missing portions of it. There's still a ton of content missing. Everything has been very slow with the rollout of this, and I just feel like they felt, because they turned it into a games as a service with a 10-year plan, and the fact that it came out on Game Pass on day one, they had time. And they still feel like they have time because they're taking their time with these big updates of basic things that people are expecting from this. Starfield is going to be the big game, though. Starfield is going to be the game that all eyes are on. You know, it's do or die for Xbox in 2023, like I said. I know we're going to get Redfall, which I'm just not excited for. I know we're going to get Forza Motorsports 8, which I am very excited for. But as far as the mass consumer market is concerned, I think Starfield is the big game that everyone's looking forward to. I think Starfield is the game, even if you're not necessarily interested in the game, I feel like you are interested in seeing the result of the game. Has Xbox finally gotten that big first-party exclusive single-player driven game that everyone has been waiting for, that everyone has been looking forward to on Game Pass on day one? Have they finally shaken the stigma of, oh, well, this game is only necessarily popular because it's on Game Pass? Because a game like Starfield, obviously with that Bethesda backing, the expectations are super high. The fact that it's not at this presentation, though, coming up, is this game still coming out, you know, before June of 2023? I've been saying for a very long time that I just don't think it is. I think you're going to see one more delay with this game because at the end of the day, it's a Bethesda game. Bethesda has these huge open worlds, and when you're bug testing this stuff and trying to implement new things into it, things can get pretty dicey. But I just can't help but feel concerned. I guess that would be a good word for this. Concerned. I'm a little bit concerned about Starfield for a multitude of reasons. I mean, you could look at Fallout 76 and, you know, Bethesda developed games as of recently. You could look at the competition and the landscape changing. But even beyond that, I just feel like there's a ton of pressure on this game. There's a ton of people staring at this game, looking at this game for vindication of their Xbox purchase, for vindication of their Game Pass subscription, to show people that, yes, these games that are coming out in the future for Xbox, games like your Perfect Dark, games like your Fables, that are going to be available on Game Pass on day one, will have enough bark to their bite. They will be able to substantiate a great game experience that just happens to be on Game Pass as well, instead of a game that feels a little bit undercooked just going on to Game Pass, like we've gotten with a lot of Xbox titles since Game Pass has become a big thing. But these are just my thoughts on the situation. Obviously, you know, Colt Eastwood and Kid Smooth. People are like, why do you always bring up Colt Eastwood? He's like the head Xbox guy, isn't he? He's the guy always talking about Xbox. And Smooth, I've known Smooth for quite a while, the Kid Smooth curse. Those are my Xbox guys. You know, when I'm looking for Xbox stuff, I look to them. But they probably won't agree with me on this topic, but maybe you will. Let me know what you think of everything in the comments section down below. Do you have high expectations for Starfield? Do you think it's going to, you know, hit the mark, or is it going to be a bit of a disappointment? Will that stigma for Xbox kind of continue on? I feel like we all know Forza Motorsports 8 is going to be a great racing game. I feel like Redfall we're all kind of in the middle about, but Starfield to me is just the big title. And if this game doesn't deliver, there's some problems at Xbox, man. And as always, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. I want to hit 500,000 subscribers this year. You guys are doing a great job so far. Keep the momentum going. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.